Well. Let me guess. Spring cleaning. Well, so as a lot of you guys know, the Switch 2 came out recently. Yay! Confetti. Whoopee. Yay. Celebrate. Get the champagne and the cigars. It is $500. $500, that's not chump change. Most of it's, high price games are going to be about $80, $90. They're cloning Discord and charging for it. And you have to effectively unlock a button on your controller. And okay, so maybe I'm being a little pessimistic. Maybe I'm, a big Nintendo hater. I'm not actually, but maybe I just don't understand. What I do understand is the Switches, the 1 and the 2, are currently having a lot of issues. And the biggest one that I've seen recently is stick drift. Stick drift is horrible. It is literally the killer of enjoying any gaming experience. It doesn't matter if you're on VR, it doesn't matter if you're on a normal console or a Joy-Con, whatever. It makes it horrible. And the Switch 2, only a few days old, already has it. I've seen all over social media people saying, hey, I have stick drift. How do I fix it? Because they haven't dropped it. It is brand new. That's the thing. If it's about, even a week old, even a month old, all right, sure, there's errors that people can do, that can, cap about, they can drop it, whatever. When it is so new and already experiencing issues, it's a big issue. Especially when it's $500. I can't stress that enough. $500. You can get a Steam Deck for pretty much the same price. You can get a PlayStation 5 for the same price. Not an Xbox One X, because I think there's actually issues with tariffs right now, and they upcharge about $100. So if you're an Xbox fan like me, wait a little bit. But nonetheless, anyways, I'm getting off track. So the Switch 2 is having severe stick drift issues almost right out of the box. Horrible. That's absolutely unacceptable. But there's an adjacent issue that I've also seen, not as much, but once or twice, that it brings up some red flags. A lot of people who still own the Switch 1s are having issues with orange screen of death. Now, it's not probably officially known like that, but it's gaining enough infamy that it'll probably become a thing. Hopefully not, but if it keeps going this way, it'll definitely be a thing. And what's happening is people are turning on their Switch 1s, and it's just an orange screen. Nothing. And that is a huge issue. And I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I hate it when people are like, oh, the company's purposely bricking tech. Aside from the stuff with the iPhone 5 and whatnot, that was pretty legitimate. But I'm not a big fan of saying, oh, they're probably bricking it so people buy the new one. I will admit, the timing is kind of suspicious. But the issue is that these are popping up all over the older consoles, and especially when there's features in the older version that aren't available on the new one, like an OLED screen. Nintendo, why the heck would you develop an OLED screen in your Switch 1 and then just completely abandon it for your second one and then charge so much more for it? No, just come on. Let's be real here. And I know there's people being like, "Oh, they'll release an OLED version soon." For what? $700? It's annoying. And will it have the stick drift that the current one does? And the issue with this is, I don't think Nintendo's going to do a recall. I severely doubt they're going to do a recall on the Switch 2s. Because think about it. Nintendo's model currently for what they're doing. You see it all over social media. All the stores still have Switches in them. They haven't gone out of stock. They're doing okay, even if they're super expensive. And with that, though, all of those Switches, all of that export stock that they have put on shelves, they put in warehouses, is manufactured exactly the same. And this is the issue with being prepared in regards to stocking. This is something that Sony and Microsoft absolutely sucked at during 2020. Now, to be fair, all the stuff with the pandemic, I get it. It was rough. But they short-stocked it with the advantage of, if there is something wrong with the console, you're not wasting a ton of time, resources, and energy basically trying to clear out dead stock. Because if it's, short-stocked and you're actively making it in the factory and immediately shipping it pretty much to homes, you can fix stuff really quickly, especially if it's a hardware issue. Software can be corrected very quickly. Hardware cannot. Hardware is the body. Hardware is like, if something's born missing a, appendage or arm, you can see if there's any cause. So, another version of that might not be born with that, This is a very bad analogy, but anyway, getting off track. Nintendo's probably not going to do a recall. If this becomes a bigger issue that they can't solve via, software tweaking for, the stick sensors, because they've overstocked everywhere. Primarily, I think, because they did see the negative side of Sony and Microsoft in 2020, and they're like, we'd rather just have our stuff on the shelves rather than people having to wait for it. But on the flip side of that, if every single Switch, assuming, and I will assume, every single Switch has this issue, every single Switch 2, I must clarify, has this issue, then you are going to have a ton of deadweight stock just sitting on shelves that you won't be able to get rid of if you release a improved version that doesn't have this hardware issue. So it's a lose-lose. And I know as Nintendo, given how much they're charging for games, how much they're charging for their consoles, they're not going to want to lose any kind of money that they can get from the stock that they currently have. They're just not going to want to. They're a company and they're trying to make money. I don't blame them, but it puts the consumer in a hard spot when you're not willing to design your business model for the betterment of your fans and your customers. And what happens with that, consequently, is you lose customers, you lose loyalty, and inevitably you lose profits. You can't make people buy stuff. That's why it's the buying and selling. You have to make something look good in order for people to buy it. Nobody is making anybody buy any consoles, The world of gaming is because we want to, not because we have to. Not because somebody's like, hey, you're going to game and you're going to like it. It's a thing of just... It's annoying. It's really, really frustrating because I know Nintendo has the capability to do a crazy PR move, completely flip the script, and be like, you know what? We will release a, new hardware for the controllers. We'll release an improved version and we'll just replace all your old ones. They're not going to do that. I'm very, very doubtful they're going to do that. However, given that it's just the controllers, it's not the console itself, it's not the actual, rectangle that the controllers plug into, it's a possibility. However, if it's at no extra charge and you have to build about, I don't know, 600 million of them, it's gonna cost you. Whereas what you could do, as a sort of, strategy, is you could just charge less on your games. $80 and $90 is unacceptable for a single game. I'm gonna say it. No, anybody who disagrees with me, it's not. No, especially if you're paying $20-something just to get online. No, that's completely no. This is why people glaze PC, because you don't have to worry about that shit. But it's frustrating, especially when you have all these super loyal fans. Nintendo fans are extremely loyal. And it's a case of, are you really willing to lose your customers, but also the fanship of the people who buy your stuff, who don't care that they're spending half a grand on a 1080p handheld? It's just, yeah, it's frustrating to watch. And I know that the people who do enjoy the things that Nintendo offers, I'm not slandering you at all. I get it. As I said, I got a loyalty to Xbox that, I don't think will ever be severed. But when the company literally just completely neglects any care for the people they're selling to, because it's one thing to upprice something. It's one thing to say, oh, this is worth $90. It's another thing to produce a $500 product that has a critical hardware issue and not address it. And now, I get it, this is only recent, this is only recently surfaced. Nintendo can do whatever they want to respond to this. But it sucks that the fans have to pay for it. It sucks that the fans have to wait for it. Especially when this has been hyped up for, a little while. I mean, not nearly as long as stuff like the PlayStation 5, but it's a thing of the people who are loyal, who do wait. Like, I imagine it's like, for me, if a new Xbox came out, and actually Microsoft is thinking about making a handheld. If a new Xbox came out and there was a super big issue with, let's say, the cooling, that's, pretty big in the hardware. Because it's something inside the console that you have to repair. It's a component that you have to repair. One way or another, either a fan's going to have to wait for that, a fan's going to have to pay for another one, or assuming the company replaces it, assuming you can mail it out and get it back, like, the 360 days. Ugh, red ring of death. But it just sucks. And I really genuinely hope Nintendo gets their, heads out of the sand and addresses this. Because I can already see the writing on the wall of, oh, well, is there dust ingress? Or, you might have to just get new controllers. Wouldn't that suck? Having to buy new controllers, and it's literally just the same exact controller that'll end up drifting in 2 days as you play your $80 Mario Kart. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's kind of dystopian in my opinion, but I don't know. That's all I got.